Here, I'm going to send you the link.
Okay. You got my message, by the way, on Hangout.
Yeah.
I'll mute my microphone so okay, so just watching. Awesome.
It'll work?
Yeah, or it looks like there's either a small delay or you said something.
No, there's definitely a delay. There's definitely a delay. Okay. I will let everybody else know. Anybody who we still have.
That's interesting. How long is the delay? I would say maybe 30 seconds, no more than maybe 30, almost a minute, maybe, but that's okay. Quality here.
So you're watching?
How can you tell where's the audience besides myself?
Nice. Okay. No, my sister couldn't see it. I might have lost all of her friends though.
Is this an application within Google or?
Yeah.
Google?
Yeah.
That saves almost what 50% of the project then, right?
Well, we're gonna build our own, but just for these proof of concepts, we're gonna use Google's.
That's
all
what I was
right.
gonna ask, yeah.
Okay, let's. Here, I'm gonna say. Well, I'm gonna give it 2 minutes, and then whoever's on. All right, we'll just get started. Sounds cool. How do you say your last name, by the way?
Lincoln Vogel.
Lincoln Vogel. All right.
Can you charge your phone?
Yeah. Okay. All right. How should we position this?
I don't know. I mean, am I going to be working while we do it, kind of, or do you want?
Yeah. Why don't you show us some of the stuff you're doing and. Sure. So I guess we have 2 people on here. One of them might be Nathaniel. But hi everybody. I'm Yi. I'm here with Auden. Auden is a animator, and we're gonna take a look at some of his work today. I'm also here with my friend Nathaniel. Nathaniel's gonna be helping us out as well. So yeah, so let's get started. Why don't you take it away, Auden? Why don't you tell us what you're doing? And
so right now I'm working on an animation, and the part I'm working on involves a technique called rotoscoping, in which you trace live action frames. So I'm working on just 8.5 by 11 computer paper because it's a lead and cheap, and tracing what are called keyframes on this here. This is basically just my computer turned upside down with the footage I'm tracing. And I'm doing keyframes, which are sort of like select spots that make sense as like a kind of like a milestone sort of the animation. So maybe every 5 or 10 frames, somewhere in there. And then after that, I take all those keyframes, which I've already traced for this section. I'm trying to do 100 today. And then doing the in-between frames just on this light box. So I pick 2 keyframes, kind of look at the footage again, see how it moves, see if there's anything I need to think about that's special in terms of how it moves, and then basically do the in-between frames. And I'm working at 12 frames a second. So it's somewhat easier than 24 or 30, but it's still a lot of tedious work.
And so when you do the tracing, do you how do you decide like how many changes to make in each frame?
Well, for rotoscoping, it's not as hard in some ways because you're basically tracing live action footage, something that's already there. So a lot of it's kind of cut out for you. But I mean, part of it is you kind of have to keep the elements you're drawing consistent throughout. I mean, like if you're drawing live action footage, you have to think about making it into a contour drawing and doing that contour drawing the same every time. I'm not going to draw, for example, the way I'm doing the ear here. I'm doing the ear the same every time. I'm not adding the extra stuff in the inside. It'd be weird if you had things that are kind of flickering in and out. And with like things like lines appearing on the face, for example, this one. I haven't done the mouths yet. I'm doing the mouths all rotoscoped directly from the live action footage. But yeah, like stuff like this, like there's like a lot of wrinkles around the face because he's lifting his eyebrow up. And for that, I don't know. It's a lot of whatever looks good, I guess. Making that transition smooth.
Cool. So yeah, so why don't you show us a little bit if you guys have any questions? Feel free to put them in the Q&A and we can talk about them. But yeah, why don't we just get started here?
All right. So I'm just like looking back at these a little. So these basically, so I have 147 and then 149. And I'm doing, or no, I have 149, I have 145, and I'm doing 147, which is between those. And having just looked at the live action footage, there's not a lot going on here, so I'm just gonna like, I guess I started this one before you guys got here. Finish doing this one for him real quick. And yeah, I mean, originally I started doing that. Originally I did all of it rotoscoping, but there was a lot of jitter, so that's why I'm doing it this way. Let's chill. Yeah, so I mean, with like some of them with larger portions where there's less movement, and you have keyframes that are spaced more widely apart, it's just sort of like a recursive process of, between like, 10 keyframes, or, between like 150 and 160, you do 155, and then, the ones on either side of that, and just keep going inward.
So for those of you who are coming from elsewhere, we're broadcasting from Oakland, California. And Auden's actually, we take a look around. And he's actually got quite a bit of art that he's done on his walls. So it's pretty nice space.
It's cramped, but it works.
So what happens after you finish all of these frames?
So there's a lot of frames, so it's probably gonna take me a couple of weeks. But when I finish, I will either, hopefully I'll scan them. I might get a document scanner because I don't need these to be super high res, so I could use a document scanner and then just pop them all in, or scan them just the old school way, or photograph them, which is what I've been doing for just doing tests, which might be good enough for my purposes anyway. So scan them, then I'll alter them a little bit. And so this is part of a larger project that I'm doing on a very small scale. There's a lot of like microscopic projects within this project, but this one is all done on that are the size of like kind of like a 16 millimeter film frame, so like about that big. So it's very minute, and a lot of it's kind of like abstract and like textural. But this part isn't. This is sort of the beginning of the animation, and so I'm going to print all of these out sequentially, all these frames on that size, and then alter them on that scale, and then rescan them again. So it's a somewhat convoluted process, but the result should be something that looks somewhat realistic, but also has like the grain of the paper kind of imbued in the final product.
So we have a question saying, what's something interesting that the average consumer might not know about making it look real?
I mean, I know less about like production kind of animation, like, you know, Pixar, Disney, that kind of stuff. I mean, so that sort of, I'm definitely not an expert on that. I guess, I mean, I'd say like consistency is like the most important thing for making it look realistic. Because when you watch an animation, you don't usually realize, you're not aware of the frame rate. Or if it's like realistically done, you're usually not aware of it. It looks like live action film. So that's probably the biggest thing. And like if you try to do it, I mean, even this, like, which I'm trying to be fairly meticulous about, this doesn't look like Disney quality. Like you see like these jittering lines, which is something I kind of like. It like has like this like somewhat unstable quality.
So for a Disney film, they would draw every single frame out by hand?
Back in the day, not anymore. I think the last, so yeah, what Disney would do is called cell animation. They would, I mean, I've never actually, I guess I've sort of done it, but it's all on celluloid, and draw it out, and then you paint it with this, like, I don't know exactly what kind of paint it is, something that looks very uniform. But yeah, they would do it like frame by frame up until like whatever, late 80s or something. Now, almost all animation is, you know, some sort of computer animation, which uses, you know, I mean, there's different kinds of it, but like it's based less on like frame by frame work and more on like having keyframes, and then there's sort of like the computer figures out how to like fill in the in between frames.
Oh, so a lot of frames are done by computer now. That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, like for like work stuff, not this. I mean, this is work, but it's not like it's not paying me any money. Like for work, I mean, a lot of the stuff I do is like computer animation because it is a hell of a lot faster. Yeah, either I use one program I use a lot. It's a free program, and I'm into that sort of like open source world. It's called Blender. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, that's a Pixar app, right?
It's kind of an open source. I don't know where it came from originally. It's an open source It's like one of the better open source, like sort of creative applications I know of. They just got a lot of. They're always making new versions and updating it. And I don't know. It's got glitches and stuff, but better than shelling out whatever, like $4,000 or something for Maya or whatever it is. I don't know how much it costs.
Yeah, you can here. Why don't I just put this here? So for those of you guys taking a look here, basically Auden, he's got the different frames on his computer here, and
yeah, going back and forth. Yeah, it's been a lot of trial and error for this project just because it's like, I don't know. I don't really do a lot of character animation. And this is well, his mouth is closed right now, but he is talking. And that has been something interesting for me to learn about because getting speech to look natural, getting it to line up with the, like sync with the audio, getting that to look convincing is like, that's been fairly difficult, more difficult than I thought it would be. I don't know. I guess like it's like things people are just visually attuned to, like faces and like mouths, and like I feel like I could get away with a lot more if it were, I don't know, just like someone running or something.
so I don't know if you guys can see, but this is frame 143. So Auden has been at this for quite a while.
Actually, not that long, but I will be at this for a while. I don't know. I did almost 100 yesterday.
How long does it take you to do each frame?
I mean, it kind of depends because like the ones I'm rotoscoping off of the computer here, they're probably somewhat faster. And then there's a little bit more like thought and attention that has to go to these because I have to like go back and look at that and just see like how I'm like kind of organizing the in-between section. I don't know, maybe like 2 minutes. I don't know. I haven't really been timing myself that much. I mean, I've been able to like do like, I don't know, I guess I did like 100 or something yesterday. And it wasn't like totally exhausted. It wasn't like a huge deal.
So Michelle asks, why is the video so shaky? And the answer is because I'm holding the webcam with my hands.
Because it's animated and it's not animated very well.
Exactly.
I'm actually rotoscoping the whole thing in real time.
So Nathaniel, my friend here,
Oh yes.
is asking, why did you choose to do this, considering that computers have replaced a lot of our work, as you were saying, with
well,
like Disney movies and stuff.
Yeah, I mean for this part of the animation in particular, computers probably could do what I'm doing. But I mean part of it, okay, I guess like the answer with respect to this particular part, I guess, is like there are like imperfections that are kind of like, it adds like a jitteriness that is like somewhat unmistakably hand-done. Like computers can emulate hand-drawn stuff fairly well, but it's still fairly obvious that it's a computer that did it. And I guess like overall, like I have somewhat of an ethic about this project that it's going to be like hand done, and I guess I'm sticking to that. With respect to the project at large, most of it couldn't be done on a computer at all because it's about like this texture on this very like almost microscopic level, like blowing up like a 16mm film frame up to like, you know, whatever 1080p. You know, and when you're like collaging on that scale, it's totally different. You have like if you have like cloth in your collage, you see all the fibers and stuff. And like you could do that on a computer, but it probably would actually take longer than just slapping shit together. And yeah, there's also like a sort of like working on a computer, the workflow is just different. I think when you're working like this, different things jump out at you, and I think just creatively it's somewhat less sterile, and you're somewhat more inspired by the process. Whereas when I work on a computer, it's more like, all right, I have a plan, let's execute it. And I don't like shy away from the computer, but it is definitely less of like kind of like a whatever, a reciprocal sort of process.
Elizabeth asks, how much do you change a feature like the eyes, say, when he's talking from frame to frame?
Well, okay, so when I do the rotoscoping, I don't pick I don't just do every 10 frames traced directly from the live footage. I do it based on sort of like kind of key moments or something, right? Like if I turn my head like this and back to here, I wouldn't use this as a keyframe and then also this as a keyframe because then I would miss this motion. I would do here, then here, then here. And likewise, if with my eyes, if I look down here and then up and then down here again, I wouldn't do this and then this again. I would do it with each kind of position. So then when I do that with the rotoscoping, it makes tracing fairly simple because then I just have to do kind of the in between. I still have to worry about pacing, but it's basically just doing the in between stuff.
So Curtis's question about the video stopping, but the audio still coming along, that's most likely an issue on our side. We had some trouble with internet earlier, and that's something that we're gonna fix going forward. This is the first time you guys are literally the first people watching, so yeah, so you guys are really the alpha testers here. Elizabeth asks, are there other people out there doing this, doing the rotoscoping?
Yeah. I mean, for sure, this type of animation is not like something that people, I mean, it's not commercially viable anymore. And so like, it's not as common. But I actually, last spring, I was working on a rotoscoping project with a friend of mine for sort of like an independent short film. He's almost finished with it now, and that was a lot more tracing than this is.
How many frames was that one?
Oh god, I think it was probably about like, that was much more complicated too, because that involved like tracing it out, and it was an interesting style. It was traced out with this kind of pen, then charcoaled in for shading, and then that was sort of composited with the original footage, and so it was kind of like a combination of the live action with this stuff sort of like overlaid on it. And there were probably like 7,000 or 8,000 frames for that.
Wow.
So that was definitely time consuming.
And how much, so we have another question from Anna here saying, how much time do you put in each project, and what does the final product look like?
It definitely depends on the project. I mean, I've done like a lot of different types of animation. Like rotoscoping isn't like my favorite thing in a way. It is kind of just like the grunt work. I mean, some types of animation are a lot faster. I kind of started out doing claymation when I was in college. I worked on kind of like a summer-long claymation project. So it probably depends on like the length of the animation and how elaborate the animation is, and just the type of animation. With claymation, it's a lot faster because, well, parts of it are a lot faster. The actual animating is a lot faster because you're moving the same thing over and over. You have a little clay figure, you nudge it, you take a picture, you nudge it, you take a picture. So that can actually be pretty fast. With that, building sets, building characters takes a lot longer than anything else, in my experience. With this, you have to retrace every single frame. So it's definitely slower for that reason. Yeah, it definitely varies. I've made some very short animations, which are usually more fun because you don't have to like work on one thing forever.
Oh, that is one thing. After this is over, we're gonna put Auden's website on the
Oh yeah.
on the link, so you guys can see some of the stuff he's done before.
This will be one. What the hell is this? So 41.
And so I'm assuming that you also shot this video as well, right?
Yeah. My character has a beard, so I have to draw a beard on myself. I don't know if it's fully washed off yet, but it might still be on the face a little bit. Yeah, I mean, like, there's a way, like, I never really went to school for animation, so I don't know a ton about, like, character animation or, you know, how you make it look naturalistic. So, like, for me, partly rotoscoping is, like, a good way to, like, I don't know, it's kind of a cheap way to do it in a way. Because, like, I guess the way animators do it when there's, like, cartoony-looking characters is they have a set number of kind of, like, different mouth shapes for different, like, consonants, different vowels, and then they just sort of, you know, take the speech, figure out where all those things are in their, like, timeline, and then just, like, switch the... I mean, if you watch, like, a cartoon character speak, it's not, like, really fluid mouth movements. It's, like, kind of
like Donald Duck.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, we're just, like, yeah, just a bunch of different shapes.
And that probably helps with the dubbing too, because when you translate different language.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that must be like a consideration when they overdub that stuff. It's like you gotta like maybe make the translation like somewhat match the at least the duration of the mouth movements.
I read that somewhere that Donald Duck is dubbed by the same person in every single language. They actually, yeah, they actually have the same voice guy.
But he knows those languages, or what?
No, he's just speaking, you know, a similar level of gibberish in every single one. You know, his
but like
Donald Duck is not very understandable.
Yeah, for sure. But I guess like gibberish sounds sort of different in different languages. I don't know. That's kind of funny because like you go to different countries and they're like animal noises are different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Right.
And even though they're just sort of totally automatopoeias, or not even automatopoeias, they're just kind of arbitrary. Like pigs don't say oink. Oh shit. I was gonna make this eye a little bit different, but I forgot about that. Oh well, it'll be 1/12 of a second.
So for people who have come in recently, Auden is making for every 12th of a second. He's literally drawing a new sheet of paper of video that he's going to end up producing. So when you see those videos that are 10 minutes long, that's a lot of drawing. That would.
Yeah, it would be more interesting if I were working on a claymation project, then you would get to see the cool sets and stuff. I could show you actually another thing I worked on last year, and that'd be interesting. Actually, let me finish this frame first. I'll show you the most time-consuming project I've ever worked on. So like with the keyframing, there's like, once you have the keyframes, most of it is sort of fairly straightforward, but you do have to pay attention sometimes. Like for example, between 139 and 135, the eye opens relatively late. It's pretty much at 138 that it comes fully open. So that means like when I do the in-between frames, I have to keep that in mind and just keep the eye open until 138. I don't know, just a bunch of dumb stuff like that. That's mostly what happens.
Right. So for people who can't see extremely clearly what's going on here, he basically has these two frames overlaid, these two keyframes overlaid, and then essentially he's drawing in between them. So he's filling in the gaps in between them. We have another question from Anna here saying, how did you choose to get into this? And how were you first introduced to animation?
That's an interesting question. I guess I was kind of like a half art major in college. I was art and Russian. And I worked on this animation project one summer because, well, I guess I was really into sculpture for a while. And I did a lot of ceramic sculptures, and I got bored of those because they didn't move. They didn't move, so I decided I wanted to do something with that medium because like I knew how to like do stuff with clay. I'll start with the eye so I don't fuck it up. And yeah, so I did like a summer project working on claymation, and then the next year I couldn't really decide on what I wanted to major in, so I decided to do sort of a combined major of Russian and art by doing a thesis project on Russian animation, which is kind of like a big, or I don't know, it's a big thing, but like Russia's definitely noted for its animation. And so graduating with that, I don't know.
So thanks, Michelle. Amy asks, she says, do you normally do with the drawings with pen or pencil? It looks like you're using a pen here.
Yeah, this is a pen. I was using a different pen before, but it's pretty much the same.
Do you have a particular brand of pen that you?
I mean, these are actually pretty good. We use this for the rotoscoping project I was telling you about before, the one I was working for, a friend of mine. They're pretty good. I mean, they're fairly consistent, but they do crap out after a little while, the microns. I don't know. I kind of use whatever's around a little bit. As with pencil, well, pencil's just not, I mean, sometimes you like look at a pencil and you think it's dark, but it's actually usually like kind of like a medium gray. So, I mean, you can like fix all that stuff in post, but pens are definitely like darker and not smudgy, which is kind of nice.
Does the brand matter? Brand the brand?
People tell you that they'll say it does. I don't know. I mean, pen's a pen. Sort of, I mean. These sometimes like do crap out though, which is really infuriating because they're not cheap pens.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess probably last question on this one. Upright hand position, is that to avoid smudging? Is that notice you have
Yeah, I mean I kind of like, I don't know, how do I hold it? I don't even notice how I hold it. Yeah, I guess like this stuff doesn't really smudge. I need to hold it still. I need to keep them registered. So that's like kind of an important thing. I guess just holding it kind of like on both the plexiglass here and the paper helps with that a little bit.
Is there any type of tools that you could obtain to, because you said that you need to have them aligned.
Yeah.
Is there anything that could hold them down and keep them steady?
Yeah, I built this light table once, and what did we include? Like we had like clips, but it is kind of like a hassle though, because like you have to clip it in, and then you have, I don't know.
Would that save you time, the clipping?
I don't think it does. Like that was the thing. It was like it kind of just got in our way.
Okay.
So I'm just going the old school method, I guess. I don't know. I'm sure animators who know what they're doing have, you know, a special table. Let's see, what else can we... I can show you the most time-consuming animation I've ever made. The frames are in here. I guess if you put up the link on the site, you'll see it. It was called The Kettle, and basically it was frame-by-frame animation. But all the frames were like their own collage. And basically for this one, so basically the pink was just what I used for, you know, like what's called a color key. Like if you have like a green screen, you can take it all out. So basically everything you see that is pink here ultimately became black. The way I did this one was it was like a filmed. You may not be able to see it that well, but in the middle is live action footage that I printed out frame by frame, and then collage the rest of it. So it's basically the idea behind this was sort of a I guess like a representation of sort of the effects of peripheral vision, where you have sort of like your photorealistic center, and then you have like this gradually more abstract stuff as you move out. And so this was definitely a very time-consuming one, but in some ways it's more interesting to look at than this thing.
And it looks like there's like hundreds of folders in here.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're actually pretty thick because they're kind of collage. There's about like 100 and something. It was a very short animation. I don't know. I think each of these took maybe like an hour to do, a little more.
So an hour each.
But they kind of, you know, they're fun. I mean, they're collages. I don't know. It's funny. Like I worked on it like a year and a half ago, and I don't know. I kind of like, you know, just let it sit. And then now looking back on it, like I came across the pictures of it again, and I was like, you know what? These look cooler as pictures than they do as an animation almost. So I'm thinking if I like show it somewhere again, I would do it with these pictures alongside. Yeah, just because like.
That's really cool. Well, I know a lot of you guys are probably about to leave. Sorry, you guys again for starting late, but it was a good trial run, the first trial run. Thank you guys for joining us. Once again, Nathaniel here has been great help. Obviously, Auden, it was a pleasure. Yeah, maybe see you guys in another episode sometime. Okay, bye.